and it never went away. But that's a good point. What else? They gave it to you? Yeah. 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 Good. Now remember back to what Peter said. He said, you cast, and I went back to the word epireipsantes. I'm no Greek scholar, but that's the word, to throw or to hurl. Now there's some that say, remember Peter's background as a fisherman. Now some think maybe he had that in mind when he said casting your anxiety. I don't know. I don't think we can know one way or the other, but it is the same thought. Right? There is the idea of casting, right? When he said you cast, so it's to throw or to hurl something, like you throw something with force, like flinging a heavy, something that is heavy, right? In Peter's case, we could say like flinging or casting a net. So it emphasizes a decisive act of transferring our anxiety from ourselves to God, and that He is the one who bears that anxiety for us. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And I'm glad you brought that up, and I agree. There is, as we've said early on, there's not one level of this we're talking about. There are people that need help. There are some people that need some medication at times. Yes. Yeah. 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 Some of us, we just need to it's not as complicated as that. What you were saying, Heather, and that's the practice of myself. What are you laughing at?
I said in Colorado, you just go get gummies.
That's right. We got edibles in Colorado. You just go down the street, and you can pick whatever shop you want. That's why I twitch a little bit when I talk. What were you going to say, Cliff?
I just said I have some at the house.
No. It's my father-in-law. He jokes, okay? But real quick, before we close, and I guess we'll come back. So there are some words that I wanted us to think about. Trust, right? There's the action of what we do. There are things when we're anxious about things. The casting, there's an aspect. Think back again to what they were going through in 1 Peter. The fear of the suffering that some were undergoing and the possibility of future suffering. Bring this to God. Take it to God. Trust. How about the element of prayer? Is prayer important in this area? We have verses that Paul tells us that. Philippians chapter 4 and verse 6. Paul says, be anxious for nothing. And I always say, yeah, we're told don't be anxious, but we're anxious. But be anxious for nothing, but in everything by prayer. So there's the prayer part of it. That's a part of casting it upon God, isn't it? And faith, the belief, right? There's the evidence, there's the belief we have. The trust is the action. We trust God. Real quick, let's wrap this up. I love this quote by George Mueller. When faith begins, anxiety ends. When anxiety begins, faith ends. Backus said one of the best cures for situational anxiety is, now that's not clinical or severe. The situational anxieties, the everyday anxieties that we face. He said one of the best cures for situational anxieties is avoid it and you will increase the anxiety. Face it and go through it and it will remove it, and you will remove it. How many times have we heard somebody say, fight your fear? We tell our kids, you got to face this situation. Right? If you don't, it gets worse. It gets bigger. That's the same concept. Jesus said, these things I have spoken to you. Remember when he talked to the disciples? So that in me you have peace. In the world you have what? Tribulation. This is the stuff of the world. You have tribulation, but remember what Jesus said. Take courage because I have overcome that. I have overcome all those things. John said, whatever's born of God overcomes the world. That's everything in the world, overcomes the world. And this is the victory that overcomes the world, our faith. Any comments, church, before we dismiss? Yeah. Good. Anybody else? No, I don't think I mentioned that as the definition, did I? Merimna, which means to be divided or pulled apart. Vine says it's to draw in different directions, distract, signifies the things that cause the distraction. So what do you mean? I'm not sure I understand your question. Yes, so in Backus's book, I think that's what so he's talking, his definition of anxiety, and I mentioned that he doesn't say anything specifically about 1 Peter in the biblical definition or merimna. So he's not using that word in the Greek words, but his definition in his book, how he defined anxiety was, anxiety is ordinarily defined as fear in the absence of actual danger. The event a person fears is highly unlikely to do to him what he feels. So. No, I would not, no. I wouldn't say they were mentioning, no. Because we know we're not to fear. We're told not to fear. Do not fear those who kill the body. That's a tough one. That's a tough one. Anybody else? Appreciate everyone. We're way past time, but we'll come back next week. And thanks for being here tonight.
Good lesson. We all need it.
Did that make...
Oh, it did.